Talo for lava, warm Pacific greetings and welcome to another episode of Pacifically Correct. Today I want to pass on a marriage tip. Now I've been married for 32 years and I'm not an expert, but there's this one particular tip that I learned later on in the marriage that I thought, I wish I knew that one before I jumped the broom with my wife back in 1989. It would have saved her a lot of heartache. Now, despite the fact that our government would say that there's no difference between a male and a female, a man and a woman, apart from the fact that one gets paid unfairly more than the other. And they may have tried to fix that by a couple of weeks ago passing a law that allows kids to choose their gender. The Bible's quite clear, and Pacifica know that there is a huge difference between men and women. We were designed differently, created differently, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit why. Well, back in the day, at the beginning of time, when God created man, He gave man two tasks. One, tend to the garden. Two, go name the animals. So men are task orientated and Adam got busy. It wasn't until he started naming the animals that he realized he was lonely. So then God put him into a deep sleep, took the rib, created woman, and gave woman not a task but a relationship. So men are task orientated, women are relationship based. And with being relationship based, it's all about the heart. So it's important to understand that men, we can change the oil in the car, we can mow the lawn, we can have a domestic dispute, we can watch the rugby. We can just go from task to task and we don't think much of it. Whereas for women, if you have a domestic dispute and you've broken that trust, you've caused grief in their hearts, it takes a while for them to get over it. And back in my day, I would think to my wife, come on, get over it, man, let's move on. But I didn't understand that I had wounded her. So I want to give you a little story which the Lord used, I guess, to explain to me how important it is to cherish my wife's heart and to look after her. And it's back when I was in the police, my offsider and I, we got a call to go to, a mother was on the line saying two sons were fighting, and then the phone went dead. We pull up, there's the first I car. When we arrive at the house, there's only one person in the house. It's one guy lying on his back with 8 puncture wounds in his chest. No mother, no other son. So we apply the first aid. Now the thing about first aid is you've got to apply pressure to the wound. There were 8 wounds and we had 2 hands each. So while we were trying to stop the bleeding, there's no greater sound for a cop that's attending an incident like that than that siren of the ambulance on the far out distance. It's a beautiful sound. Anyway, they arrive, they take care of business and we pull back. Now, I'll just share a little bit of the story because it has quite a good happy ending, but there is a lesson for me that I'll share with you too. Funny thing is that we didn't know whether the guy was going to live or not, so my offsider goes in the ambulance with a detective to get a dying declaration. I stay with the detective doing the scene examination, and when we're finished, he says, right, we're off. We drive away, having locked up the house. We get halfway back to the station. The detective says, oh, Nick, I forgot my book, my diary back at the house. We return. When we get there, the house that we'd locked is now open, and we walk in and we catch the offender. The thing was, the offender was hiding out of the house the whole time we were doing the scene examination, and when we left, he came out, we nabbed him. Now, God took me back to that story because when I hurt my wife, when I break her heart, she's actually bleeding like that person that was lying on the ground. And it's quite easy for us to try and justify or to try and lecture when someone is actually saying, I hurt. I could have stood there with with the victim lying on the ground and sort of say, well, there's things you could have done to avoid this, but he would have bled out. And I realized that when my wife says, honey, you hurt me, I've got to stop the bleeding. And I can't justify anything. I can't sort of say, well, hey, had you not said this, I wouldn't have said that. And that's the wrong thing to do. However, I'd made that mistake many times in the previous years. So I want to share with you that we are going to hurt our wives because men just make silly decisions at times. We make mistakes, but don't try and justify those mistakes. Apply pressure to the wound. Why? Because leaking from a woman's heart is her admiration, is her respect, is her love for her husband. If you are standing there trying to justify the hurt that you've caused. Team, so important that in a marriage, protect your wife's heart at all times. Having said that, team, let's keep things pacifically correct. I hope that really helps your marriage. God bless. Till fast you fall.